I learned that even though I didn't think my body could do it, my mind was saying, yes, you can, yes, you can. And it was that whole being able to control that your mind to make your body do something. And I really learned that. I'm prouder of that than almost anything I have done in my life was running that 5K.
Hello, and welcome to the Art of Living Well podcast. I'm Stephanie May Potter, and I'm here with my co-host, Marnie Dotches-Marmette.
We created the Art of Living Well podcast to empower you to live your happiest, healthiest, and most authentic life. Each week, we will bring you inspiring and motivating conversations covering health and wellness topics, including fitness, mindset, food, travel, product reviews, and strategies from a variety of experts, including our own bank of knowledge.
We are excited to educate, motivate, and inspire you to change the way you perceive health and discover your art of living well. Get ready to feel inspired. Hello and welcome to episode 75 of the Art of Living Well podcast. Before we dive into today's episode, we want to give a special shout out to our listeners around the world. It is so exciting for us to see that our listeners are not only in the US, but around the world, including India, Canada, the UK, and many countries throughout Europe, as well as Australia and New Zealand. Thank you guys so much for listening. It really means a lot to both of us. And speaking of our listeners, we want to read a couple of our reviews. We really appreciate the ratings and reviews that you leave on Apple Podcasts, as doing so really helps us to reach more people. So the first one is from Game Pigeon Master. The Art of Living Well is a must listen. Marnie and Stephanie bring a variety of impressive guests from across the country. The hosts are relatable and motivating. You leave each podcast wanting to better yourself. And the next one from JV Fingers. This is a complete health and wellness podcast led by two highly experienced integrative health practitioners, Marnie and Stephanie. The topics covered include nutrition, exercise, parenting, mental health, and spirituality, and so much more. Marnie and Stephanie share their own stories and experiences, making it very personable and relevant. When I listen to them, I feel like I'm having a conversation with girlfriends. This podcast is a must for anyone looking to improve their health and well-being. Subscribe now. Thank you guys so much. We love reading this. It really just affirms why we're doing this. We love putting out these weekly episodes, and we're so happy that you're enjoying them as well. And then just one more quick announcement before we dive into today's episode. We wanted to let you know that we have a free online workout guide which supports lots of small and female-owned businesses. You can find the link to download the guide in our show notes or on our Instagram profile. We are thrilled to welcome today's guest, Jean Ketcham, who is aging but dangerous. Years ago, Jean made the conscious decision to live a life full of fun, spirit, and style, and she's never looked back. After retiring, Jean discovered that the 55-plus women were not living up to their true potential. Their social circles were shrinking, and their lifestyles were becoming less stimulating and less adventurous. That's when Jean founded Aging But Dangerous and committed to making a difference. Aging But Dangerous is an internationally acclaimed movement for women focusing on healthy aging and living life dangerously with fun, spirit, and style. They inspire women aged 50, 60, 70, 80, and beyond to control their destinies and make their dreams come true. Their mission is to help you develop your limitless potential. Jean is a firm believer in having a bucket list, and she shares why this is so important, as well as some of the fun things that are still on her bucket list during today's episode. During our conversation, we talk about Jean's upbringing and role models who shaped her positive attitude. Her Aging But Dangerous group is phenomenal, and we highly encourage anyone out there to join. She has a free Facebook group as well as a paid Inner Circle membership, and this group has led women on skydiving adventures, as well as hosting colonoscopy parties. This was all pre-pandemic, of course. Jean shares her tips on how she lives a healthy, fulfilling, and joyful life. As like us, she believes that staying healthy makes a huge difference in how we age. One of the key themes of this conversation is that Jean loves life, and she embraces life every single day, which resonates throughout this episode. Simply being in Jean's presence will inspire and encourage you to look forward to every stage of life. We had so much fun talking with Jean, and we know that you will love today's conversation too. So with that, let's jump right into today's episode with the fabulous, fun, and inspirational Jean Ketcham.
This episode is brought to you by our wonderful sponsor, Appetite for Change. Appetite for Change is a nonprofit in North Minneapolis that uses food as a tool for health, wealth, and social change. This year, in light of COVID and the unrest in Minneapolis, Appetite for Change has continued to ground themselves in their mission and center their work around community connection and nourishing food.
They launched a pilot program called Community Cooks Meal Boxes, which provides fresh produce and pantry items, plus 2 recipes for over 300 families at no cost to the family. The program has been such a success that it has been extended for another 6 weeks and will continue into 2021. AFC has utilized the kitchens of their 2 restaurants, Breaking Bread Cafe and Station 81, to produce over 200,000 meals that have been distributed across the Twin Cities to healthcare workers, seniors, and families in need.
In addition, they have 7 farm plots across North Minneapolis that are tended to by community members and Appetite for Change youth learning how to grow a variety of plants. These fresh fruits and vegetables are distributed throughout the North Side. Even in 2021, Appetite for Change is committed to building a more equitable food system by delivering fresh and nourishing food to healthcare workers, seniors, and families in need, tending urban gardens, and more.
We have been collaborating with Appetite for Change over this past year, and we have loved their dedication to their mission, and we so look forward to volunteering with their organization and working with them more in 2021. To learn more about Appetite for Change, listen to episode 31 of our podcast with one of their founders, Michelle Horowitz.
For more information or to donate, head on over to appetiteforchangemn.org/impact or on Instagram and Facebook at Appetite for Change.
Hi, Jean. Thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast today. We're so excited to have you and share your energy with everyone. And we met through Yasna Berzna, who was on our podcast actually over the summer at Modern Well. And I remember the first time I saw you, you were talking with Yasna and the founder, Julie, and I just was kind of observing the conversation. And I knew immediately that you had to be on our show. And so we're excited that you're here with us today.
Well, I am very excited to be here. I can't wait to talk to you guys. I just, I'm very, very excited.
Good. Well, thank you. So everyone has a story, and we would love for you to share yours and your journey and how you came to found the business Aging But Dangerous.
Well, about 12 years ago, my friend's 8 years younger than I am. She's my best friend. And I was 69 and she was 62, but we had a lot of friends in their 50s. And we were sitting around talking, and we're talking about how these women turning 50 and in their early 50s, how they were just, and this is 12 years ago, you guys. So you have to understand it's changed a lot in 12 years. But these women, I mean, they were like going in the closet. They were traumatized about turning 50 and getting older and aging. And it's like, come on. What are you talking about? So Suzanne and I decided that, we got to get these women out there. We got to get them doing things. We've got to get them sharing stories and communicating with each other. And that's exactly what we did. We started and we just got a website. We just kind of, but it just took off like immediately. And then we started having events, and we have a martini jump skydive every year. I'm a skydiver.
I want to hear about that.
Yeah. And then we had a fashion show that ended up being huge. And the name of the fashion show was Dispelling the Myths of Fashion, because they're still doing this today. They're trying to tell you as you age, they're trying to tell you what to wear, where, what length your skirt should be, what your color of lipstick should be, all that kind of crap that just, you just makes you want to throw up. Well, they were doing it much more back then. But anyway, during our fashion show, we had 500 people come to that fashion show. It was like just sold out, and it was like huge. Well, my daughter comes in from Chicago to go to it. My daughter was in her early 40s at the time. And the woman that was one of our key people in the show. She was 80, Patty was her name. She was a competitive ballroom dancer and didn't start doing that until she was 70. And so Patty comes out on the runway and she has these tight jeans on and this cute little t-shirt and this jacket. And Michelle's sitting there and she said, "Mother, I cannot believe that I want that outfit that an 80-year-old is wearing." And I'm like, "See, I told you there is no age difference, and I really believe you have to dress, you need to dress for your body, size and everything, but not your age." And then we had a colonoscopy, you guys. We had a great colonoscopy party. We saved a life. This woman's mother had died of colon cancer, and she was scared to death to get a colonoscopy. So we rented a hotel down in Nicollet Island, or whatever that hotel is downtown Minneapolis. And we had the party that night. We had the table set up with all the, their drinks and everything on it. And they spent the night in the hotel. The next morning we had a limo come, and Suzanne and I went with them to their appointments and held their hands, and they did it. And she had cancerous polyps. So they were taken out, and she was, saved her life. So we felt really good about that. So we just kept going. And then, of course, this COVID thing hits. And it's, as for all of us, it's just really put a stop to a lot of things, that we were doing. So now we're doing it, we're doing it online like you guys are, and like a lot of people, and we're having fun. We're having fun doing it still. But I would love to get to the point where we're doing the live things and meeting with each other. But, anyway, that's how it started. And, now, as I think we have almost 130,000 followers on Facebook. We have a large membership, and we're just all over the world, people following us from all over the world.
So I'm wondering, first of all, I think what you're doing is amazing, and there is such a need for it. I mean, huge need for what you're doing. So I love that you're hitting that target market. And I'm wondering how you were able to build this community of these women, especially in that kind of older age group. And how are you getting them to, for example, go skydiving?
Well,
I'm so fascinated by that.
I know. Well, to tell you the truth about the building, I don't know how we did it, but we did in the early days. We did the name Aging But Dangerous draws a lot of comments, and Suzanne actually came up with that name. And so that draws a lot of attention, and we got quite a bit of press in the beginning, for the especially for the skydiving. I was on Channel 11 and did a little promo thing on a Channel 11 interview. And I got home, and I kid you not, there was 100 emails from women in the Twin Cities that wanted to skydive. 100. So that first skydive we had there was 107 women from the age of 50 to 80 that jumped out of an airplane all day long. And we wouldn't let them come unless they were 50. We made them show their driver's license, everything. They could not jump out of that airplane unless they were 50 or older. So it just really took off. I don't know. And it just has happened. I mean, I think if we would have worked at it, maybe harder, except we did put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears like all of us do. But the social media, we didn't work at very hard. And a lot of people have asked, how do we build such a large Facebook following? That sort of happened, that I can't really explain that. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain, and I think also, like I say, things have changed in 12 years. Back then, I think women were there wasn't as much out there for women to do. And I mean, to learn and to, now there's so much more things, where they can find things on the internet and stuff. But this was really hands-on. They love to get out there and get together,
Yeah. And I think part of it, and I watched a lot of your videos on Facebook, which for everyone, you need to go out there and follow Aging But Dangerous on Facebook and watch Jean's little quick segments. But you live this life of fun and spirit and style. I mean, I wish we were almost doing a video podcast right now so everyone could see you. But I mean, how do you do that? And where did that, I guess, come from? Because that's not just something that just, appeared 12 years ago when you started this business, right? That's probably something that's been within you for maybe your whole life.
Do you know what? It really is. And that's interesting you would say that, because I have been kind of the way I am all my life. I look back and think I have, but my dad lived to be 105, and he was healthy clear up to the end. He skydived with me when he was 90. And
Wow.
and Daddy was just such a positive person. And that's but my mother, on the other hand, was like so negative. But I think I must have picked up on that, growing up, because, okay, so here in Minneapolis, we had a boat out on the lake, and Daddy loved to go out on that boat. And so he would come up here, he would drive this, and he was 90, and he, would drive up here 12 hours from Kansas, and he would want to go in that boat so bad. And the night before, there'd be the weather forecast, and they'd say, okay, tomorrow it's 80% chance of rain. And I'd look at Daddy and say, Daddy, I don't think we can go, tomorrow. It's 80% chance of rain. And he'd look at me and he'd kind of wink and he'd say, well, let's concentrate on that 20%. And I'll be darned, if we didn't get up in the morning and the sun was shining and the sky was blue, and it was just like, okay, let's go to the boat. So he really had that and that's the only thing I know where I got it. But, the fun, spirit, and style, the fun, of course, is, like your bucket list and, I really believe in the bucket list. I still have so many things that, even though I'm 81, I have so many things on my bucket list that I want to do. And then spirit, is your attitude and, and all that stuff. But style, a lot of people think that means, how you dress, how you look. But to me, style is being your authentic self. And I have really been the way I've always been. I wear the big earrings. I bleach my hair. I do, blah, blah, all that stuff. And I'm still doing it at 80. I said to my hairdresser, do you ever have anybody 80 years old that bleaches their hair? No, I don't. But, it's like my gray. I'm not against gray. I love gray hair. My hair was coming in gray, but it was a steel gray that did not go with my complexion. And I like a platinum blonde. So she bleached all of it out, and now it's white, which is what I like. And I don't know, I love it. So,
it looks beautiful.
Well,
yes. Thank you.
I love your hair.
Me too. And your earrings.
Yeah. My little $2 earrings from Amazon.
And your fun, authentic self.
I know it. And I just, I used to own a clothing store back in St. Louis when I was in my 30s, and going into New York all the time, meeting all those young designers that, were just starting. And I had so much fun back then. But like I say, I've just always been, the false eyelashes, the wigs, the this, the that. And it's just so much fun. And I think as we're aging, we still need to have that kind of fun. We just need to have fun with ourselves. So that whole style thing to me is just, being authentic and not letting anybody put you in a box because of your age. You just can't do that. I said, if anybody puts me in a box, there better be a door, because I'm getting out of there.
So you mentioned your bucket list, and I've heard a couple of the items on your list that you shared on your Facebook group. And I'm wondering if you can share why you're a firm believer that everyone has a bucket list, and maybe a little sneak peek into what's on your list still and why.
Well, I think a bucket list, and somebody said to me not long ago, I don't even know what a bucket list is. Well, bucket list is things that you want to do in your life before you leave this earth. And I just firmly believe in it because it gives you something to look forward to. It gives you, you write it down, you look at it, oh my gosh, I'm going to, I can't wait to do that. Skydiving was always on my bucket list. And of course, once I skydived, I couldn't stop. It was just like, oh my God, it's so much fun. But so I really, really believe in the bucket list. And this spring, I am going to train to do a hang glide. I don't want to do it with somebody. I want to do it by myself. And someone says, well, you have to be able to lift that thing up, that kite or whatever it's called over your head. And it's about 30 pounds. And I'm like, well, I can do that. I'm in very good shape. I'm going to, I'm still doing weight, lifting weights and get strong. And I really want to do that. I want to go to culinary school out in California. I want to, not to be a chef, but just to take some courses. I want to do a makeup. I want to, there's a place here in Minneapolis where you can, go for makeup classes all day. As you age, you start getting all these little, I don't know whether you guys heard my crack story, but anyway.
I heard
I did hear, I heard it. Yeah.
And isn't that funny? And so you get all these little, as my husband would say, cracks and, wrinkles in your face. And it's like, oh my gosh, I have to be able to work with that. And you can work with it. You just do an eyeshadow, you just do the shadow on a different, put it on differently, put it down instead of across, because if you put it across, it doesn't go into the wrinkles. I don't know. It's very interesting, and I love all of it. I just think it's just so much fun. Everything.
Well, I love that you're wanting to continually educate yourself too, whether it's culinary school or makeup classes or whatever, but just keeping your mind occupied with things that you're passionate about or things that you enjoy. And that's
right.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I love that too. And I want to go out to Deepak Chopra. I'm a very big fan of Deepak Chopra, and he's got a place out in California.
Yeah.
What is
I
it?
would love to join you there.
Me too. Yeah. We're in.
I know. And something like that, have something like that on your bucket list. And somebody said the other day, well, boy, you're aiming high, but I am. But you just have to, well, you don't have to, but it's just so important to just keep doing things, stimulating yourself. And, like you say, learning things and doing things. I just am always, I'm very much of an extrovert, as I think you can tell, but this whatever this thing we're in, pandemic, or this COVID thing is has really taught me that I can go be by myself and go within and learn how to do my nails without having to go to the shop, and learn how to let my hair grow without having to go every 6 weeks, and just being quiet and not having to be around people all the time, because I always have had to be around people, more or less. That's why these interviews are so much fun for me, because I just love talking to you guys. I could talk all day to you.
So with this bucket list and all these, this inspiration that you've already shared, what advice though do you have to someone who maybe is a little bit more negative, like you kind of shared your mom, or doesn't dream big and has never done that, or had a role model or anyone to inspire them to dream big and put some of these things on their bucket list? Like, what advice do you have for them?
Well, I think it's just something you want to do, and it doesn't have to be anything big. It could be like, gee, I think, I'm going to, walk around the block 5 times, or, I'm going to, learn to cook, make pancakes, or I'm going to, just something. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything big. A lot of people say to me, well, I can't join ABD because I don't want to jump out of an airplane. Like, you do not have to jump out of an airplane if you don't want to, but I just think it's important to have those dreams, or those, no matter how small, no matter, it's just to have that you can work towards and try to accomplish something, even if it's just a tiny thing.
I agree. And I love that. Just, it doesn't need to be a huge investment of time, money, effort. Yeah. Just pick one thing that you've always wanted to do.
Right. Yeah. I ran a 5K when I was 60 years old. And I tell you, that was harder than jumping out of an airplane any day. And because I'm not afraid of heights, because I don't, and so it was easier for me to jump 15,000 feet. But the running, I always wanted to be able to run, and I would have, trainers. I worked out with trainers along the way, different ones. And they would say, you can't run. You don't have the body build. You're too stocky. You're short, blah, blah, blah. So I never tried it. So I thought, when I turned 60, I'm like, I am going to run at least a mile. I want to be able to run a mile. And so I hired this trainer to just get me to do that. I have asthma, so it wasn't easy for me to do, but I did it. And it took me, I think, 6 months, you guys, to be able to run a mile. It just took a long time. It was not easy. And then she looked at me after I did it and she said, I want you to go home and I want you to put 5K on your refrigerator. And I said, what is that? She says, that's a 3.2 mile. And I'm like, I can't do that. Yes, you can. If you can run a mile, you can run 3 miles. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, guess what? I did it. And it was hard. And I didn't want to do it again, but I did it. But the one thing I learned from that I didn't learn, from skydiving was that I learned that whole mind over matter thing, because as I was going along, and she ran with me, but when I was going along, and it was hills and stuff, it wasn't just flat ground. I learned that even though I didn't think my body could do it, my mind was saying, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And it was that whole being able to control that your mind to make your body do something. And I really learned that. I'm prouder of that than almost anything I have done in my life, was running that 5K.
That's amazing. And I think the mind is so powerful, like you said. And once you realize that, like even writing it down, and how she had you put it up on your fridge so you see it.
Yeah.
Like it's in your body and your mind, even if there's a piece of you that doesn't think it's there. And you're training yourself almost like in a backhanded kind of way that you're going to do it, right?
Right. And I saw a post the other day. I don't know where it was. It said, if somebody tells you you can't, do it twice and take pictures. It's like, yeah, of course you can. And take pictures of it when you do it, but if somebody tells you you can't, of course you can.
And of course that like drives you further, right? When someone tells me no, or I can't, then I'm like, oh yes, I can.
I'm going to prove it. Yeah. And I just, that was one of the first rules of my marriage. I said, don't ever tell me that I can't do something, and don't ever tell me, don't ever tell me what to do, period. But, and I've been married 58 years, so it worked.
Congratulations.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I guess I love just how you have a non-judgmental philosophy, and how you're encouraging women to do what they need to feel better. Maybe you can just talk a little bit more about that belief and incorporating into that, like what makes us age well?
Well, that's another thing. When I look back, I've always worked with women and, in my clothing store. And then I moved to Minneapolis, and I was a fabric rep. I called on commercial designers and architects and sold commercial fabric. I did that for 18 years. So I worked with a lot of women, a lot of young women. And so I've always done that. And I've always been very encouraging. I have to tell you a story with some of these young women. I started doing that too when I was like 40. I did that till I was 40 to 60. I did it, like I say, 18 years. So these young women, I had this, and I know a lot of people are against furs, so please don't judge me. But I had this fur coat when I moved up here from Minnesota. That was my consolation prize from leaving my clothing store. I was getting ready to open up my second clothing store in St. Louis. So my consolation prize was, up here, get a fabulous fur coat, because it's cold. It wasn't that cold in St. Louis. Could not have worn one in St. Louis. But anyway, I'd go on these calls. I'd call on these young designers that go like, oh my gosh, I want one so bad. And I said, you can have one. Just go. And this was back when you guys are too young, but back there was a store here called Schlamps, and they would do this layaway program. And I'd say, just go in there, pick one out, put it on layaway, take money out of your grocery money every week and pay for that damn coat. You don't have to eat all the time. Just take your food money. And, I used to talk to these young women about all this stuff, but it's always been part of my personality. It's so, my daughter had an only child, and thank you, God, it was a girl. But, I used to, she was 3 years old, and she was out playing with this little boy, and she comes running in and she's crying. I said, what's wrong, Michelle? And I get down right level with her. And she says, Johnny just said to me that when I grow up, I can't be a firefighter, and I want to, not a firefighter, policeman, I guess it was policeman. And I want to be a policeman. And he says, I can't because I'm a girl. And I got right down in front of her face. And I said, listen, you go out and you tell Johnny, you can be anything anything you want. It has nothing to do with being a girl. I used to tell her that since the day she was from 3 years old on. You can do anything you want to do. I'm such a firm believer in that. And I have been all my life. It's just don't. And so as we're aging, we've still got to keep that attitude of, I can do whatever I want. It's like, it doesn't matter whether I'm look at me, 81 years old. If people didn't see me, they would think I was all shriveled up and on a walker and, wrinkled and, all that stuff. Well, that's not me. And so you just got to keep that whole, as you're aging, that whole attitude of, I can do it and I can be anything I want. And I can but it all starts, from within, as you guys know. It has to be within, and you have to believe it.
So what tips, or how do you encourage other women to kind of have that same philosophy?
I try to, on a one-on-one, I think, I try to get to know what somebody likes and what they want to do. But I'll tell you one thing, I have always said this, and I will take I'm a real woman's woman, and I will take any woman by the hand and I will help her any way I can, as long as she wants to be helped or she has the right attitude. If she doesn't, I'm not there. So I don't know what I do. I just I've always been such an encourager to women on, starting their own business or doing, or staying home with their kids or, whatever they want to do, as long as it's what they want to do. And I just really encourage that in women. So I don't know what I am. That's just part of my personality.
I think it just comes across. I think being in your presence is what motivates and inspires and encourages people to say, hey, look at Jean. First of all, 81. I know you just celebrated a birthday.
Yeah.
Because I saw your birthday celebration on Facebook, and you had like a little tiara crown on and like some special, accessories for your birthday. And you celebrated the fact that you were 81. And there are people out there that are, like you said, dreading being, whether it's 50 or 60 or 70 or whatever age. But you love what you're doing at, and you've celebrated it. It's just like a celebration of life when I'm around you. That's how I feel.
Right. Yeah. And, just like my dad at 105, when he died, this bless his heart, 2 weeks before he died, he ended up in a nursing home. He was having little mini strokes, but up until that, he was fine. But when he died, he laid in bed. I was there by him, and he said, Jean, I just didn't think I'd end up like this. I swear, my dad at 105, I know he expected to keep on living because he was healthy. And it was like, oh my gosh. So yes, there's so much to look forward to. I hate to see women get discouraged because of their age. Maybe you can get discouraged because you're, I don't know, your weight isn't the way you want it to be, or you don't have this, you don't have that, but don't get discouraged about aging and about getting older, because it's just, it's part of life. But you can just make the best of it. Every stage of your life is exciting. You can make something exciting from it. When I had cataract surgery when I was 80, like a year ago, and I always wore glasses, and then I wore contacts. And then as I got older, the contacts were making my eyes get dry. So I had to go back to glasses, and I had cataract surgery. And I happened to have the kind of eyes, and I didn't know this until afterwards, that they could put the lens in I had 20/20 vision. Well, my gosh, 20/20 vision. Okay, so I look at my hands, and I have these little age spots in my hands, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. And I'm like seeing things I hadn't really saw. I can read the directions on a little bottle that's like tiny, and I'm like, 80 years old and 20/20 vision. You gotta be kidding me, so those little surprises that come up, and it happens all the time.
It's so funny you say that about the eye surgery, because both my parents have had the cataract surgery within the last few years. They're in their early 70s, and they're so excited about it too. They don't, for the first time. And so I'm already like, oh, that's something to, look forward to, if is maybe not the right way to frame it. But like you said, there are milestones and there are things to look to be excited about and look forward to at every stage. So instead of dwelling on what doesn't happen anymore because you are aging, you have something to look forward to and celebrate that.
Exactly.
And also just enjoying the age you are, right? Like I think birthdays are fun. It drives me crazy when I have friends and I'm like, let's celebrate your birthday. And they're like, oh, I don't want to celebrate it. My 49. That's so depressing. And I'm like, it is not depressing, right? Maybe you're almost an empty nester and that's exciting. And it's a new stage or, whatever it is. I think you have to celebrate life. And now we will take a quick break from this episode to hear a word from our sponsor. Have you been thinking about a new home build, remodel, or even rework of a smaller space in your home? We have all spent more time in our homes over the past year, and many people are trying to recreate spaces in their homes to bring more joy and functionality to fit their lifestyles. It can be really hard to know where to turn. But Sarah and Marcy, co-founders of Chisel Architecture, are the experts that will help you gain clarity and confidence around your project.
One of the unique aspects of Chisel Architecture that sets them apart from others is their trademark design approach called Pattern of Life. This approach is a game changer for homeowners and how they experience the design process. Marcy and Sarah really listen to you to fully understand your needs and advocate for you during both the design and implementation process. When you think about your home environment and how it supports you, Chisel Architecture believes your overall well-being should be in the mix.
Sarah and Marcy want you to live well in your home. Because they are so passionate on their design approach, they have a special offer for our listeners. Book a 2-hour consultation and receive $50 off.
Simply email them at hello@chiselarc.com. That's at HELLO@CHISELARCH.com and mention the Art of Living Well podcast to receive your $50 off. Consultations must be booked by June 30th to take advantage of this offer.
My dad, when my dad turned 100, he wanted to skydive with me again when he was 100 years old, but he got married when he was 94 and he married this witch. And she wouldn't let him, but I swear to you, he could have jumped out of that airplane 100 years old. I mean, it was when you skydive, you have to, when you land, you sit down and you have to be able to raise your legs above your waist. Well, my dad didn't exercise or anything like that, but he delivered bread in my little town that I grew up in Kansas. And Daddy was just like worked in and out of the truck and blah, blah, blah. So, but anyway, so it wasn't his age. When he wanted to jump, I went to the drop zone and I said, can he jump? He's 91 years old. And they said, we don't care how old he is, as long as he can lift his legs up. Well, he could, and he could have done it at 100. And so even at 100, we went down for a party and he was just so vibrant and so, every single age is just, it's like when your kids are growing up, you get excited when they can tie their shoes. You get excited when they can fix their own breakfast. All these things, it's the same thing as when you get over 50. In fact, you have more excitement to do because it's a whole new different life a lot of times. I mean, you have hopefully a lot more freedom and, you can do whatever you want to do.
So changing gears a little bit, I know you've created an amazing platform for women to share their stories and to build community. I think it's targeted to 50, 60, 70, 80 plus.
Yep.
Can you tell us more about the programs that you're currently developing and how people can get involved in those?
Yes. Well, first of all, go to our website, agingbutdangerous.com, and you'll be able to read about, we're calling it the Inner Circle membership. And first of all, we offer all kinds of things, even if you're not a member, but this Inner Circle is going to be much more extensive. And we're bringing in, and things are happening like every week and every day in the Inner Circle. And we're bringing in experts that are going to be talking about all kinds of things. We're going to have Zoom meetings. The one thing that I've learned is when I do my little videos on Monday and Friday, I have to tell you guys funny, so I have my martini every Friday at 4. And this one woman wrote me and she said, how much do you drink? And I'm like, Well, I don't, not that much, but I do drink. But I just, it's when I have those little, I have those videos. The one thing I've learned is that women, they really want to talk to each other. They really want to see each other. They're really anxious to get together. So we're going to have Zoom meetings and get all these people together. We've made friends with a woman in London, a woman in, the UK and Britain. And, we have all these friends from all over the world, and we're going to get together with them and let them talk. And, it's just going to be so much fun. So the inner circle is more of an exclusive group, and it's a membership, and we just have tons of things planned. It's going to be, I'm going to be cooking classes, it's going to be fitness, it's going to be makeup, it's going to be all those things that will be so much fun. So that it's very exciting. We just launched it. Well, we're launching it this week. So it's on our website. Go in and join.
Yes, we will. I'm really excited for you. And I love that you're creating this community, especially right now. When this episode drops, we'll be well beyond probably a year of being in this pandemic. Yeah. And I think it's really hard for some of I don't want to use the word older. I don't even like saying that, but for people that are empty, that are empty nesters, they don't have kids around to kind of keep them busy during this time, and they're alone. And I'm thinking about parents and grandparents that we all have. Yeah. And, what suggestions do you have for people who are feeling so isolated and down? I mean, obviously join your program, get on your Facebook groups, because I think that in and of itself could be amazing and uplifting for people. But any other suggestions you have?
Well, yes. In fact, I talked about this, not long ago. I happen to think that it is so important to have friends. I think we've got to have friends. We've got to have other women that we can, talk to and depend on and communicate with, and, and all this stuff. I said, you need to fight, if you think you don't have any friends, if you're sitting at home and you feel really lonely and I don't have any friends and no one to talk to, then you have to do something about it. And Aging but Dangerous is a place where you can go, and in this inner circle, you're going to be able to really intimately meet people, other women. But I have to tell you this story. When in my clothing store, the woman that I bought my store from, we ended up having 3 stores, but I bought the last one from her, and she was about 30 years older than I was, and I was in my 30s, like 35. And she said, we serve champagne every day. We only had 1 glass of champagne, but we served champagne. And we were back in the back. It was a snowy day. Nobody was coming in. And I said, we were having our glass of champagne. And I said, do you ever, hate it because you started this business? And does it ever bother you? Business is bad, and, things are not, going so great. And she just looked at me straight in the eye and she said, honey, listen, when the day comes that my life is not going the way I want it, that's the day I change it. And I'm like, you know what? That is exactly the way I've lived my life since. I raised my daughter like that. When my daughter was feeling lonely, she felt like she didn't have any friends, and I said, then you get out and you do it. If you don't like the way your life's going, you get out and you change it. Now, that's not so easy for a lot of people, but I just think you have to make your own, there's so much now on the internet, but you have to make your own connections. Nobody can do it for you. You can't just sit at home and expect somebody to knock on the door and everything's fine. It's like you have to go after it and you have to go get it. And I can't encourage women enough on that. You can't, nobody is going to do it for you. So you have to do it. And Aging but Dangerous is a good place to start.
And I totally agree with you. I think it is really hard for, the 3 of us clearly are more extroverted, and that maybe comes more naturally. But I do think there are a lot of people out there that really struggle to reach out to other people, make connections. So I love that you've created this platform where people can join, and maybe it makes it a little bit easier. It's a little bit less intimidating for someone to connect with others, and they can come, they maybe don't even need to talk right away, where they're just kind of watching and seeing what's happening as they get more comfortable, then they join in.
Right. I mean, it's just, this woman I interviewed the other day with one of our members, and she's from London, and oh my gosh, she's just a hoot. and she talks about her exercise and what she has. And, we tuned in and, she had her hair shaved and head shaved and all these tattoos. And I'm like, okay, Michelle, I mean, is this hairstyle something you chose? Because, I wanted to get that out right away, that, what that was. Yeah, I got sick and tired of messing with my hair years ago. So I decided to just shave my head. And that's what she did. And that's the way she's lived, and, her tattoos, she loves them. Her husband didn't want her to get them, but she went and got them, anyway. And, it's just, and I know people, so many people out there can't do it, but just take little baby steps, just little baby steps of getting out there. I really believe in appointment books. Get an appointment book and write down in it, like Wednesday, 10 o'clock, I'm going to call a friend, or I'm going to call Sue and see how she's doing. And, I'm going to, Thursday, I'm going to, bake cookies, or I'm going to be, and just see some things kind of building up in that appointment book of things you're going to do. I put down, even if I'm going to spend an hour reading a book or 2 hours, I write it down. I like seeing those things on the daily, on a daily messages, because again, you have to do it. No one's going to do it for you. You have to do it yourself.
I love that. It's such a simple suggestion, but I think it helps make people feel good. Oh, I have something on my schedule. Because otherwise, a lot of people right now have like this open calendar, and then maybe they find themselves not really doing anything that brings them joy or that's productive or that's going to make them feel good. So,
right.
Yeah, that's so great.
Honey, I want to tell you this real quick. I always wanted to work with abused women. And then my daughter said to me, this was like years ago, Michelle said to me, she said, Mother, you can't. And I said, why? And she's, because you don't have the right personality. And I said, don't. And she said, no, you would be telling these women to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get going. And you can't tell an abused woman to do that. It would destroy her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. So I do get kind of, I think, carried away, and I think, well, this isn't, I know there's women out there that it's hard for, so yeah, it's not everybody can do it. But.
Well, everybody can do it. I think everybody can do it. It's just, it takes some people more time than others.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Just start little, just little. And yeah, you're right. I think everybody can do it. I'm glad you said that, not me.
So can you share, Jean, as we start to wrap up this conversation, what do you do to age so gracefully? Because I know people are going to want to know, like, so what does Jean do? What are your top 3 non-negotiables that you do maybe every day or every week that you feel really help you to live this joyful, authentic life?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm healthy. And so that makes life easier when you're healthy. I've always exercised. Not done as much now as I would like. So, that helps. I like to cook. I got a bread machine in December. I'm having so much fun making bread for people. I am having a blast making bread, and stupid bread. But Aging but Dangerous, of course, has helped me because I'm so involved in that. I do get up, I have a lot of interviews and do some TV stuff. And so I do put on my makeup. I watch a lot of tutorial. I know this sounds foolish, but I watch a lot of tutorial makeups because I think it's so much fun. And they're young people, because I think they really know what they're doing. I do a lot of reading. I'm a fast reader. In November, I think I read 17 books. I do that a lot at night. I don't really do it that much during the day. I can read a book really, really fast. I just do all those things. I can't tell you what it specifically is. I'm just into life, and I love life, and I try to find the best out of everything, and I don't judge things or judge people. And I don't know, but I do think it makes such a difference when you're healthy. If you're not healthy, I think it's a whole different ball game. I had a hip replacement. Yeah, I had a hip replacement a year ago, and I'm telling you, I think I saw the other side of aging. It was a horrible, horrible experience for me. And so I do think it makes a difference. If you're not healthy, it's so hard.
I think that's really true. And I like that you brought that up, because I think sometimes when a person is going through something, like a hip replacement or cancer or whatever it is, your mindset can get thrown a little bit when you're not feeling like you can do all the things that you would normally want to do because maybe you're going through treatments or whatever it is that's kind of taking you off course for a little while. But I think you're doing a fantastic job. And I think one of the key things you said that stuck out to me is that you love life and you are just embracing life every single day. And that resonates in everything about you, even just looking at you on the screen and talking with you. Like I can see the life radiating out of you.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Thank you for that. Thank you. That's what a gift you just gave me.
Well, I think, and like just Marnie said, that's where the attitude and your mindset can trump so much, all the other things that are going on in your life, right? There's no silver bullet. Like you said, you have some things that you like to do. I think you fill your days and weeks with the activities and people that bring you joy.
Yes. Yes.
And that things that you like to do that are fun for you. Yeah. And that's probably like the theme, right? And then keeping healthy and active. So
yes. And the cooking, I love
the cooking. That's so important.
Yeah.
Yes. We love that.
And I'll tell you, when I had cancer, I checked into the hospital and, of course, as we all know, when you have cancer, they don't really know how much it's spread until they get inside to see. So I'm checking in with the woman in the check-in thing. And she said, I said something, I don't know what it was. And she said, you're going to be just fine. I said something like, I wonder how bad it is or something. She said, you know what, you're going to be just fine. And I said, I am. And she said, yeah, you know why? And I said, why? And she's because of your attitude. And I'm like, okay. Well, and I thought about that so many times. I thought, well, how does she know my attitude? She didn't even talk to me that much, but it must have shown, I must have been, I was scared, but I still knew at the bottom of my heart that it would be okay. I just really felt that. But so yeah, it's back to that, attitude. When we had our fashion show and those women, we had a casting call and we picked women, right off the street. And I said, I don't care how tall you are, how short you are, how you look, none of that. I want you to walk down that runway and I want you to have attitude. You've got to have attitude. And by gum, they had attitude. They just absolutely killed it, because they just, that is so important. Your attitude about life and about yourself and about, everything.
That's so true. I love that. I hope to see the fashion show again someday. I hope that it'll be in person and be really fun to come watch.
Yeah, you will, because there's not that many of them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This was very unusual, and it was, but it was all the aging thing, because back then it was, if you're over 50, what was that woman that wrote that book? I can't remember her name, How Not to Look Old. You guys wouldn't know about, I can't think of her name, but anyway, she was an editor in Vogue and all that. And she was so strong on and that came out right when we started Aging But Dangerous. And I got furious, and Suzanne would get so upset with me because I would get so worked up. But I said, nobody is going to tell me what to wear, how to look, what, what I'm supposed to do to not look old. They're just not going to do it. And what really is sad is that this woman, she died I think she wrote it when she was in her 50s, early 50s. And I think she died at 60, early 60s with, I don't know whether it's cancer or what, but I thought, what a shame that she died, because I think if she would have lived longer, she would have written another book that would have been much more, this was, this is ridiculous. You shouldn't wear pink lipstick. You should wear pink lipstick after you turn 50. I'm like, pink lipstick, hell. I don't even look good in pink, it doesn't hurt my skin. I'm not going to wear pink lipstick, and things like that you just did not make sense. They're just like, and I tell you, when I had my clothing store, it was right when this book came out, How to Dress for Success. And this guy told women, now this is years ago, you guys, it's 40 years ago. So he actually told women how to climb the executive ladder at IBM by wearing, certain things. And of course, here I am, 37 years old. I'm out there, I'm going to New York and all these buying trips and everything. And I come back to my store and I'm like out there and I'm like, and I'd have these fashion shows and you do not have to wear that navy blue suit and that little string tie, now if you're going to have a slit in your skirt, it better hadn't be too high, but you could still have a slit in your skirt. It was just like, oh my gosh, I was crazy. And I had fashion shows to show them what they could do and how they should stand out, in a crowd and not have on that navy blue suit. It was really funny. But
I love hearing all these stories, and I'm sad for this conversation to end. I feel like, Jean, we're going to have you on again, maybe post COVID.
Yeah.
So one question we like to ask all of our guests is, what does the art of living well mean to you?
Well, I think after all of this, you probably know, the art of living well to me means having a positive, having a good attitude, being positive, and just doing what in the hell you want to do. I mean, you're living well, and that's just, do whatever you want to do and be positive about it, and don't get a negative attitude. So I just think, if you want to live well, you got to it's back to that attitude. You got to be positive, and you got to do whatever you want to do, no matter what. I don't care what it is. You do whatever you want to do. I don't care whether society approves it or your neighbor, disproves it or whatever. You've got to do what you want to do in life. And that's what's going to make you happy. And that's what's going to help you live well, just by doing any damn thing you want to do.
And that brings you back to being your true authentic self, right? We've kind of come full circle here.
Exactly. Yeah. And just, yeah, exactly. Be authentic. Be who you really are, not who somebody thinks you should be or what you should think you should be, And
right.
That number, that age, 81 years old, there's no way I'm going there. There's no way. I'm very proud to be 81, but I tell you, there's no way I'm going to go into that, that whole arena of, oh my gosh, I'm 81, I've got wrinkles and I've got this, I've got that. I mean, it's not important. I'm just not going there.
Oh,
and I'll be that way when I'm 90, and I'll be that way when I'm 100. Somebody said to me the other day, you have 25 years left, 24 years left. And I said, I do. And they said, well, yeah, if your dad lived to be 105. And I'm like, oh yeah, I do have 24 years.
Thank you so much, Jean. This conversation has been so much fun.
Well,
we've loved talking with you. And like Stephanie said, we probably will love to have you come back.
Yeah, in 3 years when I qualify, I'm going to join you on the skydiving trip, because I did it once in my 20s, and I've been wanting to do it ever since again. So I will join you.
Okay, so this is what I say about skydiving.
Me too.
Yeah, and everybody is, if it's on their bucket list, they do it, they scratch it off. Okay, I'm not going to do it again. No, the second and third, I've done it 5 times. The second and third time is even better, because you're used to it, what to expect. And they explained this to me at the skydive place at the drop zone. They said, at the beginning, it's just your mind doesn't know how to relate to that jump, but after that, your mind knows what's going on, and you even feel like you're hanging in the air more on that next jump, whereas the first jump, you're just like going right straight down. But afterwards, you feel like you're hanging in the air, and you're like, you see pictures of that. It's so much better after that first one. So good.
And that's been on my bucket list. I've never done it before. So
okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, the stories, we had fabulous stories of women afterwards. Oh my gosh, one woman said, after because when you walk off that, that field and you have jumped 15,000 feet, you feel like you can conquer the world.
Right.
She said, I went home and I divorced my husband and started my own business. And we're like, oh, no, we don't want to encourage that. But oh my gosh, these women, gave them so much strength.
Yeah.
Maybe clearly. I can get my mom to do it with me.
Yeah, that would be fun. That's fun.
That would be very fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jean. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, have a great day.
Thank you. Well, let me just insert something. If everybody go to our website, agingwithdangerous.com, and even just sign up for our newsletter, then you'll know what's going on and be able to keep track of us. And
yes. And we'll link all that up in the show notes.
Okay. Well, you guys have been just a ball to talk to. I love talking to young women. I love talking to women, but I especially like talking to young women.
Well, you're so inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Art of Living Well podcast. We are so grateful that you joined us today.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or anyone else you think may benefit from this information. We'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, and tag the Art of Living Well podcast on social media.
If you want more inspiration in between episodes, you can find us on social media at theartofliving_well on Instagram and Facebook, where we will share snippets from our daily lives and our journey to living well.